we'll do um, Norton Street, and then where is Laura Lila? I don't see her, but maybe because she's on my list, I just don't see her.
She's sitting in the front.
Okay, most of you are white blobs. I guess I've been in too long. Anyways, so then we'll do None But Lucifer. So, pardon me, and let's get the ball rolling. Bill had a nice recap for our next adventure.
Yes, welcome everyone. Narrator Laura Lila, if she would come up. Britta Mart, Laura. Harold Shea, Vidaf. Trumpeter Harold and Campbell, Rocky. Floribel, Vadir. Reed Chalmers, Lost Horizon. I'm happy you made it. Vladimir, Muscle Spark. Sadaran, Rocky. Dressa, Atlantica, and Cambia is ready, and Fairmont is Myra.
I don't see Laura Lila either.
I'm right here.
I know,
no,
but
for some reason I don't see you either. But
yeah.
I see her now. She's
Where
got
is
a
she?
really fun outfit on, too.
Where is she?
Well,
She's hiding.
Mark has a big job. He has to be the whole audience tonight.
Yes. Well, wait, Muscle Sparks, you need to be up here. You are Blandamar.
Right, yeah, sorry.
Okay. If everyone's ready, I will recap from last week. We last left our clan watching the tournaments held at Sadaran's castle. Britomart has just informed Harold Shea it is the custom of these tourneys for 1 or 2 nights of good report to ride at the beginning, as Sadaran has done for us and Blandamar for them. After that, those younger men have their opportunity to gain reputation, while such as we of the companions remain aside until needed. She was about to ask who chose the sides, but Britomart gripped his arm. Ha! Look! Gyrony of black and silver.
At the other end of the lists, Shea saw a big blond man ducking into a helmet. His shield bore a design of alternating black and silver triangles, all running to the same point, which must have been Gyrony.
That is certainly none other.
As Britomart, I'm sorry, I'm getting an echo. As Britomart spoke, the big man came storming into the press. One of the lesser knights on foot, attempting to stop him, was like a 9-pin, rolling over and over under the horse's hoofs. Shea hoped his skull had not been cracked. Fairmont, who had secured another, was charging Campbell just before the black and gold and silver came together. Drance. With a clean, flowing motion, he ducked under the point of Fairmont's lance, snatched a mace from his side, and dealt Fairmont a terrific backhand blow on the back of the head. Fairmont clanged heavily the saddle, out cold. Stands were in a Britomart shouting,
Well! Oh, well!
lifting from foot to foot. Nearby, they saw Saturn grow grim and heard his visor clang shut as Campbell back into the melee, furiously about him with his mace, upsetting a knight at every stroke. Shouts warned him of Saturane's approach. He turned to meet the chief defender and swerved his horse quickly, striking with his mace at the lance head. But Saturane knew the answer to that. He changed aim from Campbell's shield to his right shoulder. The long spear joint and burst in 100 shivering fragments. Down went Campbell, with sticking in his shoulder. With a light, the defenders threw themselves on Campbell to make him prisoner. The challengers, more numerous, ringed the fallen knight round again back. Those still tilted against each other around the edges of the melee. They trembled sharply over the uproar. Shay saw a new contestant entering the arena on the side of the challengers. He was a big, burly man who had fantastically decked every joint in his armor with brass oak leaves and had a curled metal oak leaf for a crest. Without any other notice, he dropped a big lance into position and charged at Saturain, who had just received a fresh weapon on his side of the lists. Whang! Saturain's spears shivered, but the strangers held. The chief defender was carried 6 feet beyond the horse's tail. He landed completely out. The stranger withdrew and then charged again. Down went another defender. Britomart turned to Shay.
This is surely a man of much worship, and now I may enter. Do you watch me, good squire? And if I am unhorsed, you are from the press.
She was gone. The wounded Campbell forgotten, and the tumult around this new companion had been dragged to the security of the tents at the challengers' end of the lists. The press was now around Saturain, who grogged up. A trumpet sounded behind Shay. He turned to see Britomart ready. Oakleaves heard it too. He wheeled to meet her. His lance shattered, but Britomart held, though he slipped part of its force by twisting so it skidded over his shoulder. His horse staggered. Oakleaves swayed in the saddle. Unable to regain his coordination, he came down with a clatter. The warrior girl turned at the end of the list and came back, lifting a hand to acknowledge the hurricane of cheers. Another of the challengers had taken the place of the Oakleaf Knight. Britomart laid her lance in rest to meet him. Then a knight, Shay recognized Blandemore by the 3 crossed arrows on his shield and surcoat, detached himself from the mob around Saturain. In 2 bounds his horse carried him to Britomart's side, partly behind her. Too late, she heard the warning shout from the stands as he swung his sword in a quick arc. The blow caught her at the base of the helmet. Down she went. Blandemort leaped down after her, sword in hand. Somebody shrieked,
"Foully done!"
Shay found himself running toward the spot, dragging at the big sword. Blandemore had swung up his sword for another blow at Britomart. He turned at Shay's approach and swung at his new adversary. Shay parried awkwardly with the big, clumsy blade, noticing out of the corner of his eye that Britomart had reached a knee and was yanking a mace from her belt. Blandemore started another swing. Can't do much with this crowbar, thought Shay. He was trying to get it round when he got a violent blow on the side of the head. He reeled, eyes watering with pain. More to gain balance than to hit anything, he swung his sword around like a hammer thrower, about to let go. It caught Blandemore on the shoulder. Shay felt the armor give before the impact. The man toppled with a red spurt of blood. The world was filled with a terrific blast of trumpets. Men-at-arms with howls were separated from the contestants. Britomart snapped up her visor and pointed to the man in armor at her feet, jerking like a headless chicken.
A favor for a favor. This fetoured knave struck you from behind and was about to repeat the blow with when my mace caught him.
She noticed that the groveling man's surcoat bore the green bars of Sir Paradel.
Yet still, I owe you, good squire. Without your aid, I might have been spared by that foul cow blow that Blandemort struck.
Don't mention it. Are we taking time out for lunch?
Nay, the tournament is ended.
She looked up and was dumbfounded to see how much of the day had gone. The herald who had opened the proceedings had ridden across to the booth where the judge of the tournament sat. Now he blew a couple of toots, and cried in a high voice,
"It is judged that the most honor of this tournament has been gained by that noble and puissant lady, the Princess Britomart."
There was a shout of approval.
"But it is also judged that the Knight of the Oakleaves has shown himself a worthy lord, and he also shall receive a chaplet of laurel."
But when Britomart stepped up to the judges' stand, the Knight of the Oakleaves was nowhere to be found. The stands emptied slowly like those at a football game. Some spectators hooted after Blandemore and Paradell as they were helped out. Shay caught a glimpse of Chalmers hurrying after the veiled girl who had been his neighbor in the stands. She moved slowly with long, graceful strides, and he caught up to her at the entrance of the castle. Someone hurrying past bumped them into each other. A pair of intense eyes regarded Chalmers over the low face veil.
But dear, I didn't hear you.
I heard her very faintly. I think her mic needs to be turned up.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes,
Better.
Okay. It is a good palmer. Hail, Revenge, sir.
she said in a toneless voice.
Aha!
Chalmers?
Isn't it unusual for a woman to win a tournament?
That it is.
The voice was toneless still. Chalmers feared he had managed things badly, but she walked by his side down the great hall till a blast of warmth came from a fireplace where a serving man had just started a blaze.
The heat. Bear, I cannot. Get me to air, holy sir.
She reeled against the psychologist's arm. He supported her to a casemented window where she leaned back among the cushions, drawing in deep breaths. The features outlined against the thin veil were regular and fine, the eyes almost closed. Twice Chalmers opened his mouth to speak to this singularly abstracted girl. Twice he closed it again. He could think of nothing to say but, "Nice weather, isn't it?" or "What's your name?" Both remarks struck him as not only inadequate but absurd. He looked at his knobby knuckles with a feeling of being attached to a set of hands and feet 7 times too big for him. He felt an utter fool in his drab gown and phony air of piety. Dr. Reed Chalmers, though he did not recognize the sensations, was falling in love. The girl's eyelids fluttered. She turned her head and gave him a long, slow look. He squirmed again. Then his professional sense awoke under that intent gaze. Something was the matter with her. Certainly she was not feeble-minded. She must be acting under some sort of compulsion. Post-hypnotic suggestion, perhaps. Magic. He leaned forward and was nearly knocked from his seat by a violent clap on the back.
Good fortune, Palmer.
The dark Blandemore stepped past him, one arm bound tightly to his side.
Gramercy for your care of my little rosebud.
With the undamaged arm, he swung the girl expertly from her place in the casement and kissed her with a vigor that left a damp spot on her veil. Chalmers shuddered internally. The girl submitted with the same air of preoccupation. She sank back into the casement. Chalmers meditated on a suitably horrible end for this jolly roughneck, something humorous and lingering, with either boiling oil or melted lead.
Hi, Doc. How are we doing? Hi, Sir Blandemore. No hard feelings, I hope.
The knight's black eyebrows came down like awnings.
Against you, you kern? Nay, I'll give you a meeting beyond the castle gate and spank you with the flat of my blade.
Shay looked down his long nose and pointed toward Blandemore's bandaged shoulder.
Be careful that iron arm of yours doesn't get rusty before you go that far.
He turned to Chalmers.
Come on, Doc. We got some reserved seats for the beauty parade. They're starting now.
As they left, Chalmers said,
Harold, I wish I could talk to that girl. In private, I believe she's the key to what we're looking for.
Honest? She's Blandemore's lady, isn't she? I suppose if I fought him for her and beat him, she'd be mine.
No, Harold. I implore you not to start any more fights. Our superiority over these people should be based on intellectual considerations.
Okay. It's funny, though, the way they pass women around like bottles of liquor. And the women don't seem to mind.
Custom. Beyond that, deep-rooted psychology. The rules are different from those we're accustomed to, but they're strict enough. A knight's lady is evidently expected to be faithful to him until he loses her.
Still, if I had a lady, I'm not sure I'd want to enter her in this beauty contest, knowing she'd be turned over to the winner of the tournament.
A custom, again, it's not considered sporting to hold out on the other knights by refusing to risk an attractive lady.
They had been bowed into a kind of throne room with a raised dais at one end. At one side of the dais, the bearish Saturain sprawled in a comfortable chair. 6 musicians with tootle pipes and things like long-stemmed ukuleles were setting up a racket, unlike any music Shay and Chalmers had ever heard. The knights and ladies appeared to find it charming, however. They listened with expressions of ecstasy till it squeaked and plunked to a close. Saturain stood up, the famous girdle dangling from his hand.
All ye folks know that this is a tournament of love and beauty, as well as a garboil. This here girdle goes to the winning lady. It used to be Florimell's, but she lost it, and nobody knows where she is. So it's finders keepers.
He paused and looked around.
Now, what I want to say is that this here is a very useful little collop of jewelry, both for the lady and her knight. It has a double enchantment on it. For the lady, it makes her 10 times fairer the minute she puts it on, and it hides her from anyone who would do her wrong. But also, it won't stay around the waist of any wench who's not perfectly chaste and pure. That's for the benefit of the knight. The minute this lady can't keep her belt on, he knows she's been up to tricks. He ended with a... Sorry.
Well, go ahead, bellow. A few echoes, others murmured at his uncouthness. Saturain waved for quiet and went on.
Now, as to who wins, the honorable judges have eliminated the contestants down to 4. But among the claims of these 4, they say they can't decide nohow. So they ask, lords and ladies, that you yourselves choose.
Saturain turned to the opposite side of the dais where 4 women sat with veils over their heads and called.
Dwesa, lady to Sir Paradel.
One of the girls rose and advanced to the front of the dais. Saturain removed her veil. Her hair was red, almost as bright as her heavily rouged lips. Eyebrows slanted low at the center. She looked a queenly, disdainful scorn at the audience. The company murmured its appreciation. Satyrane stepped back a pace and called,
Cambina, lady and wife to Sir Campbell.
She came forward slowly, blonde, almost as tall as Campbell himself, and of the mature, Juno-esque beauty that dwarfed without outshining the little redhead. Shay whispered to Chalmers,
A little bit too well upholstered for me.
Just then there was a clang as an iron glove was thrown on the floor. Campbell's deep voice boomed.
My challenge to anyone who tries to take her from me.
There was no acceptance. Satyrane never turned a hair. He whipped off the next veil, crying,
The Lady Amoret.
She stepped forward bravely, turning her head to show the perfect profile. But as Satyrane announced,
Lady and wife of Sir Scudamore.
the delicate nostrils twitched. They gave an audible sniffle. Then, abandoning all efforts at self-control, she burst into a torrent of tears for the absent Scudamore. The Lady Duessa looked angry contempt. Cambina tried to comfort her as the sobs became louder and louder, mixed with words about, When I think of all I've been through for him. Satyrane threw up his hands despairingly and stepped back to the fourth contestant. Shay saw one of the judges whisper to Satyrane,
What?
said the woodland knight in an incredulous stage whisper. He shrugged and turned to the company.
Sir Blandamore's lady, Florimel.
He announced and drew the veil from the woman with whom Chalmers had been talking. Shay heard Chalmers gasp. The girl who advanced to the front of the dais with a sleepwalker's step and wide eyes was the most beautiful thing Shay had ever seen. Clapping and murmurs foretold who would win. But there was a buzz of talk as well. Shay's ear caught Britomart's remark to Chalmers.
Good Palmer, you who are skilled in magic and superstition mark her well.
Why,
Miss Britomart?
Because there's something very strange. She's as like that Florimel of the sea to whom the girdle really belongs as one pea to another. Yet, I will swear it is not the same woman. And see, all here are of the same mind.
In truth, the hall was shouting for Florimel as the winner, but they were shouting for Blandamore's Florimel, as though to distinguish her from the true owner of the girdle. Satyrane bowed and extended the jeweled trinket toward her. With a word of thanks, she took the belt. She clasped it around her middle. There seemed to be some difficulty about buckling it. She fumbled, worked at it a second, snapped it tight, lifted her hands, and the enchanted belt, still buckled, slid down her hips and thumped on the floor. A low murmur of laughter ran around the room. Everyone looked at Blandamore, who turned beet color. Florimel stepped out of the circle of the belt and picked it up, a frown of puzzlement on her perfect features.
Here, let me put it on,
said the red-haired Duessa, and snatching it, suited the action to the word. As soon as she clasped it, the girdle popped open and slid down. She caught it and tried again. Same result. Shay noticed her lips were moving as though pronouncing a charm.
At least I can do it,
said Cambina, and Duessa threw the belt at her angrily. But Cambina could not make the belt stay either. No more could the others as they tried one after another. With each effort, the knight's jokes grew louder and more barbed. Satyrane looked worried. Shay sympathized with him. This backwoods knight had tried so hard to give a polite tournament and party. Blandamore had ruined one with his back blow at Britomart, while the girdle the other. But Saturaine was not done yet.
Ladies, cease, I pray you. The rules of the contest only provide that this girdle should go to the winner, with nothing about her trying it on. That's Florimel, and she is now the lady of the winner of the tournament, who is, by the 7,000 virgins of Cologne, it's the Princess Britomart.
The tall blonde stepped forward and said something to Saturaine, then turned to the company.
I do refuse this gift, since I am sworn to accompany Amoret till she finds her Scudamore.
Harold, I simply got to talk to that girl for scientific reasons. Couldn't you persuade Britomart to accept her for...
Afraid those. I say to me.
Blandimore's shout drowned every other sound.
If the winner won't have her, then she's mine again by right of reversion.
Saturaine, scratching his head, was the middle of a knot of knights.
A sottishness! If the winner won't have her, then she reverts to the champion of the other side, and marry that am I.
I overthrew more knights than you today. If it comes to a question of the second best.
Good knights and gentles, I have changed my mind, and will accept the charge of this lady.
By my halidome, no. You refused her once, and she's mine.
Hey, didn't I knock you for a loo this morning? And doesn't that mean...
Blandimore spat.
That for you, Springald. Pox on these. I'm on my way.
He strode across the room, grabbed Florimel's wrist, and dragged her after him, snarling something inaudible through his mustache. Florimel whimpered with pain. Shay bounded after them, spun Blandimore around and slapped his face. He jumped back and got the epée just in time.
Stop, fair sirs.
The clash of steel answered him, his guests scattering, pushing furniture back. To them, stopping a good fight would be wicked waste of entertainment. Shay remembered that in dealing with these broadswords men, you had to rely on footwork. If they got close enough for a good swing, you might get your blade snapped off in a parry. He felt rather than saw the approach of a corner, and drove into a stop thrust to keep from being backed into it. He heard a voice.
Nay, bid them cease. Blandimore uses but one arm.
So does the other, and he has the lighter blade. Let them go.
Back and forth they went. Swish, clang, zing! Shay caught a ferocious backhand with a parry sixth, but his light blade was borne back by the force of the blow. The edge chopped through the sleeve of his jacket and barely nicked the skin. Blandimore laughed. Shay, thinking fast, grunted as if with pain, jumped back and dropped his epée. But he caught it with his left hand, and as Vladimir came hurling in, nailed him just above the knee. The knight's blade whistled around and clipped the tip off Shay's hat feather before Vladimir crashed to the floor on the stabbed leg.
Enough! Let there be an end of manslaying. Now I rule that Sir Blandimore has his just deserts for unknightly behavior, both here and at the tourney. Let any who challenge this prove it on me. Squire Harold, ye have won Florimel for your lawful paramour. Why, pest take it! Where is she?
Florimel, the fair bone of this nightly contention, had disappeared. Is that where we're ending?
Yes. And thus ends this part. Thank you.